Welcome to the Hangar Z podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicast in a partnership with Vertical Valor magazine. This two-part series was recorded on location in San Diego at the San Diego Police Department Air Support Hangar as part of the 2025 Blades of Valor Tour.
I think our unit, the way we look at it in general, is that good street cops can be turned into good TFOs, and good TFOs can be turned into good tactical pilots. And then at that point, we would expect that pilot to continue to TFO to keep those skills sharp. So that's the formula or the recipe that we like. Skipping any of those steps really endangers the end product. We would never want to take somebody directly into the pilot seat for our program because we really want them to experience that TFO side first and know as a pilot what does that TFO need and what are they doing. Also, that wealth of knowledge from the ground is really important, and we see it where people are very experienced and they have a lot to draw on, and we see it where they are struggling because they probably were picked before they were a little bit ripe off the vine, and maybe a few more years would have benefited them before they became a TFO.
The 2025 Blades of Valor Tour took us to 4 agencies across 4 states, showcasing their exceptional work through print, video, and right here in the podcast. The Blades of Valor Tour wouldn't be possible without the support of Airbus and Massif flight suits. The San Diego Police Department Air Support Unit has an outstanding program supporting airborne law enforcement operations throughout the city and county of San Diego. During this conversation, we're privileged to speak with Matt Zdunich, Sergeant of the San Diego Police Department Air Support Unit. Sergeant Zdunich comes from a family of dedicated San Diego police officers. He's a graduate of Marine Corps OCS and UC San Diego. Matt was hired by San Diego PD right after college and started the police academy the same week as his finals. He earned a master's degree in public administration from National University after 5 years in the job. Matt's been with San Diego PD for over 24 years, his first 10 years working in patrol at Central Division, where he gained experience as a SWAT operator, field training officer, in crime suppression, undercover narcotics, and many roles as an acting sergeant. He's been a part of the Air Support Unit for over 13 years, progressing from tactical flight officer to pilot, then tactical flight officer trainer, flight instructor, and now chief pilot. In February of 2025, he was promoted to sergeant and will soon oversee maintenance and safety while continuing his duties as a TFO, pilot in command, and trainer. These conversations highlight the importance of solid leadership, a great unit culture, and utilizing emerging technology to make your unit more effective and efficient. For more information about our visit to San Diego PD Air Support, be sure to check out the article written by Jack Shanley in Vertical Valor magazine, and check out the incredible video footage captured by Lloyd Horgan and Brent Bundy on the Vertical Magazine YouTube page. Thank you to our sponsors Airbus, CNC Technologies, and Shotover.
Welcome to the Hangar Z podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts. The Hangar Z podcast is the first and only podcast dedicated to promoting and exploring the personnel and equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation.
Still southbound, skidding to a stop. Stand by here. Looks like you're getting ready to bail. Heads up, guys, bailing. Okay, the guy, he's running through the house, jumping the fence, through the shotgun, through something out. Grabbing the shotgun. Don't go over that fence. Don't go over that fence. Grab the shotgun again. He is armed. Stay there. Hold your position.
It's time for your Heli Life giveaway buzzword. Listen up and remember this word because you'll need it to enter for a chance to win exclusive Heli Life gear. Ready? This episode's buzzword is support. Visit contest.verticalhelicast.com to enter the buzzword.
Hey, welcome to Hangar Z podcast. I'm your host, John Gray, coming to you from the Blades of Valor Tour 2025. This is stop number 4 of the trip. It's our last and final stop coming off the heels of Verticon. It's been an amazing 2 weeks. We've had the privilege of visiting Texas DPS. We got to visit with Phoenix, Arizona, their police department. Then we went to Las Vegas and got to fly with them. That was really cool. And now we're with San Diego PD, the agency that I started with. And it's an honor and a privilege to be here. What's funny is, I actually have never been to this hangar prior to today, even though I work here.
That's crazy.
Like in flight training at Hellstream, we flew down here and landed in Montgomery and got fuel. And I remember the flight instructor being like, "Oh, hey, that's where Able flies out of." But that was one time, and here I am. To join us in this conversation is the commander, Jack Shanley. He gets so mad when I say the commander. But man, you're looking great down there. You got this brand new flight suit.
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
Well, Massif was nice enough to support us with these flight suits. And we wanted to be safe We talk about safety all the time. We're going to talk about it today with Matt. I mean, we're constantly talking about it and promoting safety, so we got to live up to that. And so we said we really want to get flight suits, and Massif was kind enough to support us in that. And so it improves our safety. It's comfortable. We've got pockets again for all the gear that we're taking up, and so we're very, very grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. On the topic of safety, Matt, you've held the role of a safety officer here at the unit, and I want to commend you for the role that you had in our flight ops with the air-to-air photo shoot. You guys did a phenomenal job. Can you talk about that a little bit, what your experience was, and maybe some advice for folks that are looking at doing kind of what you did, maybe not with us, hopefully with us, but whether or not they're with Vertical or somewhere else?
So to be fair, I have never been a safety officer here. So but as a chief pilot, I work with our safety officer on any training that we're going to do just to make sure he and I are on board with each other. And then when you get into what we did yesterday with a formation flight, we've kind of gotten out of that business. We do them very rarely. We used to do them with other agencies, and we decided that we don't practice enough for that. The payoff wasn't good enough for that. So we'll do them in-house with the pilots we know, with the aircrafts that we know. But in trying to set up our two-ship flight yesterday, I had a million questions that I wanted answered, mostly because I felt like as the lead on this, I wanted my guys to trust me that I did a good job setting them up for success, because the pilot of the second ship has never flown in a formation flight before yesterday, and he's our safety officer. So I wanted to make sure he feels good, that the TFOs that are helping support the mission feel good, that we're not doing anything we shouldn't be doing. So I asked a lot of questions, put together that written brief so we could all talk about it and make sure if anyone had any concerns, they can raise them then, or at any point he could pull the flag and say, nope, I don't like this, and then we'll just bail out of it. So
yeah, you guys did a phenomenal job.
It was really good.
Thank you.
I feel like the more questions you ask, the better. You should never complain because there's too much information being provided. So well done there.
Thank you.
There's calls that made all the time about formation flights. I know I've taken a lot of them over the years, and there's a lot of units across the United States that get dragged into a formation, even a loose formation, for a funeral normally, and they call and say, hey, you guys did them all the time. Well, we had a formation flight cadre of people that had training days multiple times a year, and it's still a risky operation, even with that. And I would just go, you're getting dragged into this on 2 days' notice that you're going to go fly in formation with people that you don't know. And there's a lot of risk there. Can it be mitigated? Of course it can. But a lot of it's about questions. Your questions were fantastic,
Thank
Matt.
you. And actually, when I came in this morning, I typed up a bunch of things that we learned after the fact, and I threw it in our, we call it a G drive, but just basically so now it'll live in infamy.
Good idea.
For somebody 9 years from now when I'm not here anymore can go, didn't they do one of these a while ago? Yeah. And how did they set it up? They could just pull up that document and see if it applies or if they need to change everything, but at least it's there for people to reference.
Yeah, just to be more specific, I think this is a good topic to talk about. We briefed with our both photographers and Matt and his partner what the idea was. This is what we'd like to accomplish. There is no pressure to accomplish this, but these are the things that we'd like. And what do you think about these locations? So we talked about locations, and then we got away from the photo and video, and we got into safety and communication between the two ships. And what if this happens? What if there's emergency? What if there's emergency procedure? What if we lose sight? We covered all that, and then we did it again with everybody that was going on that flight. It was just very well done. We were impressed, and it made for a very, not only a safe flight, which you guys had, but a very productive flight. I mean, Lloyd and Brent were both smiling when they got out of that ship, and I knew exactly what happened, that it went really, really well. And you got back safely. We were watching you on the sky track and seeing where you guys were working. And so you should be very proud of that.
Thank you.
And I like that you're saving it, because guess what? It's going to happen again.
Yeah.
Heck, it might even be us coming back to visit you, Matt. So you never know.
Well, I realize never properly introduced you. So I should say, we're recording for the folks that aren't watching on YouTube from the hangar of Able and the Able base. Love being in San Diego. It's, as they say, it's always sunny and 70 in San Diego. And so we're sitting inside their beautiful hangar with their H-125s in the background. It's amazing. So Matt Zdunich, you've been a part of this unit for quite a while. So I'd like to introduce you, but you've recently been promoted. So why don't you tell us what your new title is and a little bit about yourself?
I am a sergeant now. I feel very weird saying Sergeant Matt Zdunich. Actually, I think that's the first time I put that together. I usually say,
sounds good.
I'm Matt Zdunich. I'm also a sergeant. So I'm getting used to that title, but I just recently got promoted about 4 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations, Matt. Well deserved.
Thank you.
It's interesting because that's something we talk about a lot. We talk about leadership and promotion and the problems that our industry faces when promotions do happen. A lot of times, you're dragged out of air support and assigned somewhere else. And while that might be for the betterment of your initial career, the air support unit suffers dramatically when you lose someone that has that amount of experience and knowledge as part of the program. Can you talk about your perspective on that and some of your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. So what might shock people is I'm a little conflicted about the vertical promotion. And what I mean by that is that I do believe there is a benefit to getting the ground experience and then coming to an air support unit as an officer and learning as much as you possibly can. And then if you seek those leadership positions for promotion, I think it's really cool to go back out to patrol with what you've learned here, take that out to your agency's streets, and then try to shape the young minds of the new officers that are out there and reconnect with what the mission looks like from the ground. Sometimes in air support units, we think we're the center of the universe and they couldn't possibly do it without us.
We're not.
Wow. So that's news to me.
I think it's a good reminder to know, like, they've been doing police calls without helicopters for a long time, and they can do it without us. We offer an amazing safety element to what we do and tactical, and I could sell that all day long. But what's important is just to know, like, for me specifically, how has the patrol mission changed since the 13 years I spent up here? We slowed everything way down. We're walking away from stuff that we never walked away before. And there's reasons for that, whether you agree or disagree. But I think to see it from the ground and to be the sergeant who's responsible for making that decision and then bringing that information back to air support and taking over as a leader to bring it all back, I think that would have been my preferred pathway. The issue is that, and I think most units are feeling this right now, is that our unit is understaffed. And so fortunately for me, I was smart enough to make myself worthy enough with a few skill sets, becoming a TFO trainer, a flight instructor, a PMQA pilot. Those things are very needed to keep the machine moving. And so in a unit that fully staffed only has 12 officers and currently only has 8, timing is everything. Yeah. And so if this promotion had happened maybe 5 years ago, I don't think I'd be sitting in this seat in a flight suit. I think I'd be in a patrol function right now, hoping that one of the 2 sergeants would leave or retire to give me a spot. So this was the game plan the whole way. I took the sergeant test in order to try to become an air support sergeant. I kind of wanted to have my cake and eat it too and get a little bit of patrol experience and then hustle back. But as our promotional process extended a little bit, I thought I would have about a 6 to 8 month window before one of the sergeants retired here, and that would be a nice opportunity to go to patrol. It ended up only being 3 months, so we got promoted in February, and one of our sergeants is leaving. He's retiring in June, so now we're down to a 3 month window where it's going to be a challenge for me to really get my feet wet in patrol. Now you have these brand new officers that just had a sergeant, and then I come in to be their sergeant for 3 months, and then I leave, and they get to, so 3 sergeants inside of 6 months. It's probably not fair to their development, and so that has to be considered. But my favorite thing about the department deciding to promote me and leave me is that for one of the first times I'm aware of, I get to work with the person that I'm replacing for 3 months. We can slow roll him teaching me what he does while I still get to do flight operations. And I wish everyone had that opportunity. Instead of you show up to a new unit, the guy you're replacing is gone and off the radar.
You're trying to pick up the pieces and figure out what's what.
That's baptism by fire sometimes. So I think for our unit, it's a good thing that we have this opportunity to slow roll me into that position.
Yeah.
You know, what you said last night at dinner, and what you just said now causes a confliction with me, because as people know, because we talk about this topic regularly, I'm a big proponent of being able to promote in the unit and stay for all the reasons we've always talked about. All that experience, why would you just toss that? I mean, you're going to be a much better supervisor of a unit that you know something about. But I admired what you said about wanting to go back, and it had been 13 years. Think of everything that's changed in 13 years in patrol, like you said, and getting a taste of that. So here's my new philosophy. Wouldn't it be perfect, in a perfect world, to say, okay, congratulations, you're going to make sergeant, and you're at a specialized unit. And for 6 months, the next 6 months, you're going to patrol. And you go out there knowing that at the end of that 6 months, you are coming right back here. Your locker is keeping your name on it here. But you're going out on patrol and gaining that knowledge that you just talked about, the changes, the differences, and understanding them firsthand, and coming back and then being your sergeant here. I think that's the best of both worlds. I love
agree.
that you brought that up, because that I didn't think about that even possibility. And I don't know that exists, by the way, anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, we haven't heard that yet.
No.
There's units that say, nope, you're out. And there's units that say, oh, you stay. But none that do what you were proposing. Really smart, Matt. And maybe that's something that we all as law enforcement aviators need to talk about, and SWAT and K9. It carries over, but that's a really interesting
it almost
philosophy.
works out. So it's interesting if I did get to have my cake and eat it too, if I would have really liked what I was asking for, because some people like to joke like, oh, they saved you from yourself by trying to head out there. And I get that. I mean, it's a scary world out there to go be in charge of it and try to figure out all the new reports you have to do just to contact somebody, make sure your officers are walking that line that they need to. It's a challenge. It's definitely easier to stay in the safety net of what you know with the guys you know, and you kind of know all the personalities and how to lead. And so I can be swayed both directions, I understand. But one thing I think is important is that, and I mean this with a lot of respect, is that just because a crew member can get themselves promoted doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be a good leader of that unit.
That's correct.
And so
that's very true.
I would hope that there's some asterisk in there, some common sense leadership that says, just because this guy could promote, do we really want him to be in charge of this? I think you need to have that leadership first. And if they also have all these pilot, TFO things underneath their belt, all the better for it. But it's got to be the leader first.
Excellent point.
Yeah. Well, can you go back and give us a snapshot of your background and how you wound up in law enforcement and in aviation?
Thanks to our sponsor, Airbus. Airbus provides the most efficient helicopter solutions to its customers who serve, protect, save lives, and safely carry passengers in demanding environments. Its civil and military helicopters are flying all over the world, making missions possible. Visit airbus.com for more information.
So I'm a legacy kid. Both of my parents were San Diego police officers. My older brother is a San Diego sheriff sergeant, my younger brother on our department. So all five of us in local law enforcement.
That's wild.
Yeah, and we're originally from Utah. So went to Catholic school in Salt Lake City. And then my dad joined the Navy. We came to San Diego when I was very young, like 7 years old. Been here ever since. I don't know why anyone, outside of being able to afford a house, it's pretty much the only thing that pushes people out of here. Yeah. So my mom became the first cop on her department. I was in 5th grade. And it was so cool to have a mom who was a law enforcement officer. I really looked up to her growing up. All of my friends thought it was so cool that my mom was a cop. My dad, 3 years later, became a cop on our department, and so then the two of them on our department. And I grew up watching that, thinking like how cool that was, but I didn't really consider it for myself. I wanted to be a doctor, so I went to UCSD to try to do that. And then after my first year of chemistry, I realized like maybe I don't like this as much as I thought I did. And I went soul searching for what to do next. And I really kept falling back with this career that my parents have had where every day is a little different. They're outside, they're talking to people. There's all these cool assignments they started working. My mom was a canine officer. My dad was on the SWAT team. And I actually met with an FBI recruiter at UCSD and picked his brain about it. And no disrespect to the FBI, but I just found that the local law enforcement option suited my needs a little bit better than letting an agency decide where they're going to send me and what assignments I'd have. And on an excitement factor, I felt like in TV, it looks really cool, but in reality, it's a lot of paperwork at a desk. And that wasn't what my parents were doing. So by the time I was approaching the end of college, and I knew that I wanted to go on that pathway, I started the process with San Diego PD, but getting hired at 21 back then was very challenging. Mm-hmm. You either needed college or military, and sometimes both. And even that wouldn't seal the deal. So I decided as a backup plan I didn't want to just flounder waiting to get hired. So I went to officer candidate school at the Marine Corps before my senior year of college. And that was a game changer. I basically went from a college kid who, probably didn't have a whole lot of confidence that they could do anything. The Marine Corps totally changed me. There were moments in that first couple weeks at OCS where I was 100% sure I had made a huge mistake and it was time to go home. And they broke me down and built me back up. And by the end of it, I felt invincible.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I was certain I would commission in the Marine Corps, but the way the Marine Corps set that program up in an effort to get more people to try them out is there was no obligation until you graduate and commission from college and then commission with them. It's still, you can shake hands and walk away. So I continued that senior year with the hiring process with San Diego PD. And I remember it was Valentine's Day, my senior year of college. I had my interview and they offered me a job. And so I called the OSO for the Marine Corps and declined my commission and was going to be in the next academy. Ironically, the next academy was the exact same week as my finals week at UCSD.
Oh, that's rough.
So I went to each one of my professors and kind of explained like, hey, I'm about to start my career here. Is there any way I could get an early final the week before? All of them were very cool. In fact, one professor, I had him for 2 classes. He was my favorite professor at UCSD, Victor Magana. And he said, I'll tell you what, pick the essay prompt for one of the classes. You decide. Whatever you get on that essay, I'll give you that grade for both classes.
Wow.
And so he just made life so easy on me. And then the next week, I was in the academy.
Wow.
Thank you, Professor Magana. That's really cool that they
Yeah.
all cooperated, but that
Yes.
he allowed you to do that.
Yeah.
Very nice.
UCSD probably doesn't want to know that, so
Yeah.
hopefully they're not listening.
Yeah, they don't listen.
The UCSD is a beautiful campus.
It is.
I went to UC Santa Barbara, and I think UC Santa Barbara and UC San Diego have the 2 most beautiful campuses in at least the California school systems. Having gone to UCSB, in hindsight, I wish I'd gone to UC San Diego because the housing options down here are so much better. Santa Barbara's had a housing moratorium forever, so housing was really tough to find. And when you did find was typically pretty old and kind of run down. You come down here and you could live all over the county essentially if you want to commute. Did you live in and around the campus, or where did you find yourself living?
So unfortunately for me, my pathway was I commuted from home with my dad. My dad lived in PB at the time, Pacific Beach, which was a short commute, maybe 10 minutes away, and was very fortunate that worked out so well because financially I just couldn't afford. All the loans were on me, and so I knew that would be a big challenge to take on the housing side of it. So my dad let me stay with him during college, and I commuted from PB, but I will say that I feel like I missed out a little bit on that college experience, not being in the dorms. My son is a freshman at Point Loma Nazarene, living at a dorm where his bedroom window is looking at the Pacific Ocean.
Jeez.
Nice.
That campus is phenomenal.
It is. It really is. So we both wanted to provide that for our kids, that if they wanted to do that we would take care of that for them. And it's been awesome.
Wow. So you going back to your career, you go to the academy, and you're one of 2 guests in the Hangar Z podcast that we've gone to the same academy. Which academy class did you graduate from, and what was your class motto?
So I was the 50th Academy, and it was 5-0, the only way to go. Hoorah!
Yeah, baby.
And there's a couple of us left out there. There's one guy, he is a captain, so he's done much better than I did. But
Has he, Matt?
Yeah, I don't know if that's possible.
I don't think
it's not a
that's
bad gig.
accurate.
I agree. But he's about to retire. We got a few. There's at least one lieutenant I can think of, a handful of sergeants.
Yeah, when we were driving down here, I pointed out to the guys as we passed the apartments I lived in next to the campus. That's where I used to live, and there's now a freeway essentially that goes through the middle of those apartments. Like, holy cow. But it was really cool. I could essentially walk to the academy every day, and that was a great experience.
Oh, yeah.
It was a little weird being that it was on a college campus, but it was still a blast.
Absolutely.
You do know I applied here too, right?
No, I did not know
did.
that.
It was the first law enforcement job that outside of the part-time gig that I was doing in Pennsylvania that I applied here. So I did
Wow.
those steps on the PFQ. I'll never forget the steps. We talk about it regularly.
Yeah.
And I asked him when he said, "Oh yeah, the academy's over there. That's the place with the steps." I'll never forget those steps. That was a
You
butt
could have been
kicker.
a part of all this.
I don't want to badmouth your department, but had the background guy done his job, I probably would have. It was interesting. We won't even get into it, but just know that I tested and I was excited. I mean, and then I left here. I was here for a wedding as well. It coincided, the testing and a wedding of a friend. And I went back to LA, took a tour in downtown LA with some PR guy, and he plugged me in with Sharon Claridge, the Adam 12 lady in dispatch. It was Oliver.
Nice.
San Diego, it was in my rearview mirror. It was like, oh my gosh. But yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think of those steps often.
Yeah.
Timing's critical, and
yeah.
It worked out in your favor in the end.
It
could have been a much different story.
It could have been very different. It could have been very, very different.
Yeah.
But I always thought fondly of this place because that was the first time I was in San Diego was when I was doing those steps, and I was like, wow, this whole place is beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't stay long, but the wedding was here. And I was like in love with the city, no doubt.
Yeah.
And then
it's hard to argue.
I end up in Los Angeles, which isn't quite as exciting a city. Well, it's exciting. It's a very exciting city, but in the wrong ways.
Right. Right.
Not many cities are cities for me that I would want to work and live in as a police officer, but
Yeah.
this is one city that I would do that.
No doubt.
Looking back over the course of your career, before we dig into some of the assignments you had, you've done a lot. You've been involved in a large variety of different incidents and a lot of experience. Over that course of time, what's one of the most memorable incidents that you can recall having been a part of?
There's definitely a couple, some less appropriate than others, but one thing that was really cool to be a part of, I was on a undercover narcotic team at Central Division. We called it Team 8. Unfortunately, it doesn't exist anymore because with staffing, it's just one of those things that was a nice to have instead of a need to have. But my hope is it comes back one day because as an officer, it was the coolest opportunity to get to experience that detective life without having to go through the whole process of promoting. And it was fantastic. So I was one of the lead detectives on this team, and our job was to go out and try to keep a lid on street level deals in downtown San Diego, East Village area specifically. And so it was fun for me to dress down and pretend and go buy rock cocaine from people. I've never done a drug in my entire life. And so it was very interesting to see me out there. And so one of the ideas that we tried was we called it a buy walk operation. So instead of you buy drugs, you come in, you arrest the guy. We wanted to follow the money. So we basically worked with the DA for a month. We would go out and buy. Somebody would come in to ID the guy, but we wouldn't arrest him. And we just watch how the people interacted and how the money flowed around that area. And then went before a grand jury, which was a great experience for me early on in my career to see what that looks like. Present all these cases, and then we would get indictments on them, and then 50 arrest warrants would get put out in one day. And so in a 48-hour period of time, we went out and just cleaned up the street. There were no drug dealers. Now, the cynics in us all know it doesn't take long for things to pop back up and those gaps get filled. But for the people that live and work in that area, it was a game changer for that moment. And so it's kind of cool to see that there's some outside the box ways to try to improve those situations and see. But I was very fortunate. The team that I worked on was great, and we had a good time doing it.
The investigative experience you gained during that time must have been insane. As a younger officer, filing those cases and getting arrest warrants issued. That's really cool.
It was cool, yeah.
So going back to your career progression, you get out of the academy, and what does your career look like from that point?
So I got to go to Central Division right out of the gate. It was my number one choice. I was very excited about that. And I ended up staying all the way up until I came to Air Support. So 10 years at Central. And there were so many cool assignments there that it flew by. So right out of the gate, I'm working on a C squad with a couple new officers, and we're just trying to find our way. I was able to pick up SWAT. We have a PRT element. That's the guys in the field that have all the equipment and can respond right away. And so that was an absolute blast. In fact, my dad and I were on SWAT at the same time. And it was so much fun to go to monthly training together and really experience. That was about 4.5 years that we were on the team together, and a very, very cool time for me to connect with that. So I was on that. I picked up field training officer, which was very, very fun for me. I got very lucky with great trainees. So I probably didn't learn a lot about how to handle a bad trainee because everyone was top notch. So I got very lucky with that. I was on a bicycle in the gas lamp. I did that for 1 year, an absolute blast. The team environment was huge because we were outnumbered every single night with people spilling out of the bars at bar break and just trying to keep a lid on it. So that was fun. So I got to do that. And then I went to a couple patrol squads where back then, the typical squad had a couple people with 10 to 15 years on. And so there were these senior officers on the team that would really lead and guide you. And I hope that that's starting to come back because it was so valuable to me to just because I got out of phase training doesn't mean I was done. And these guys did a great job of teaching me how to be a real cop. So I really enjoyed that. And then I went to the undercover narcotic team, Team 8, spent 3 years there, got to be a scoop unit for a while, got to be an undercover detective doing surveillances, learning how to do all that. I even got to be an acting detective sergeant and take the team out operationally to do buy bus, which was a huge, I mean, for just a PO2, it was so much fun to get to do that. And then I got a 4-month acting sergeant squad. And that's where I thought, like, I really want to move into supervision. I was very excited about the idea of promoting. And there was a point in my career where I wanted to promote as fast and as often as they would let me and just see the sky's the limit. And then one day, everything changed.
I can pinpoint when that day is because the same thing happened to me. Like you, my dad was a police officer. Unlike you, my mom and dad were not police officers. So I want to spend a second there. Okay. Because I know having my dad as a police officer was really impactful. I really respected the badge and looked up to him for the things he did, and I got to go right along with him and kind of experience that. But my mom wasn't, obviously. What was that like having both your mom and dad as police officers?
Yeah, so I was so young that it just felt normal to me. And that's, I think, was a cool thing as I came onto the department is that a female officer was just a part of my childhood. It was so normal that I never thought twice about it. And she did such a great job, and she sought out all these really cool assignments as well. And it was fun to watch her career. So I thought it was really helpful for me to see that there's really no limits. A good officer is a good officer no matter what. And so she was such a great role model for me to see that. And it was kind of cool to get two perspectives, both my mom and my dad, and then both of my brothers, like just to see like that this career is big enough that it can take all kinds of people, and not everybody has to see it the same way. Not everybody has to go down the same pathway. And that was really cool to get to experience.
Any assignments around your mom?
So I did not have any around my mom. By the time I came on, she had worked over to a robbery unit. And so I got to experience the detective side of things with the teammate, and I knew, like, I think I'm good. I want to go a different direction. And so we didn't get to have much crossover, unfortunately.
Yeah, I should think about being a kid, and there's no way you're getting away with anything.
Oh, yeah.
But both parents.
Sure. Which is why I walked the straight and narrow. Like, honestly, and knowing when I knew I wanted to get hired early on, you really had to be clean about just about everything. Yeah. But there was no getting away with anything.
Nothing makes you feel like a dirtbag, like your background investigation. Write down all the things you've ever done wrong in your life. I crosswalked to this age, or I jaywalked is what I was trying to say. But I love that you were raised by two police officers and that you got that perspective on what life is like as a police officer as a child. And I had that as well, and I think it really helped in the career long term, understanding what's impactful to the family and how it feels to be a child of a police officer, not just the police officer itself. That was great. I think that gave me a lot of balance, and again, to be able to understand how things impacted me as a kid with parents or my dad as a law enforcement officer. Any insight on that?
Thank you to our sponsor, CNC Technologies. CNC Technologies, serving law enforcement, government, and military markets with tailored mission solutions, system training, and live 24/7 support with CNC.live platform. Explore more at cnctechnologies.com.
Yeah, so I think that where I benefit is, so my mom and dad started in the 90s. I came on in the 2000s, and now we're in the 2020s now. So our family has been involved in 4 decades of law enforcement, 3 and a half. So I'm bad at math. That's why I'm not a doctor. So I think it's been really cool to see like how the job has changed, how the people have changed. And one thing I've really picked up on that was a benefit was learning from my parents to me coming on is that every generation of cop thinks that the next generation is not as good as they were. It's just this perpetual thing. My parents' generation thought about my generation coming in like, oh, these kids, we didn't even have cell phones in patrol yet.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it turns over again. And we're like, oh gosh, these TikTok, Instagram kids. But what I learned about it is that every generation is pretty good in their own way. It's just, we're just getting old and we think they're not good enough, but they will find a way to be better at something that we didn't know how to do. And I think that is really cool to see. One of the benefits of going through the promotional process is knowing patrol was an option for me. I went out and did a bunch of overtime assignments in a blue uniform. I needed to get back out there and kind of embrace the uncomfortableness of I don't know what I'm doing anymore. And I worked about 4 or 5 shifts with a squad at Central Division, and it was full of brand new officers. So there's like 4 people on that squad. They all had about 3 years on, plus or minus a year. They were fantastic. I got to king up with each one of them, and I told them, I'll do anything you need me to do, but you're probably going to have to teach me. They were motivated. They were excited about the career. We were out there making stops. We were not sitting in parking lots watching Netflix on our phone. So it brought me a lot of hope that this next generation is not the stories that I'm hearing that they suck. They're not like that at all. And maybe I just got super lucky, but I think the future is bright.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited.
That's cool. You get the perspective. For folks that are listening and heard him say king up, it means, right, two people in a car.
Correct, yeah.
And I would definitely need that if I were to go back to that. Hey, show me how to do everything here because I don't know how to do anything anymore. Really cool that you got that perspective. And really that point of view of the next generation, because for me, once I left patrol and the field operations and went to aviation, I really had no perspective outside of the limited interaction I had with them. So kudos to you for getting back out there and getting some of that perspective. Jack, any insight there as far as what he was talking about with the generational stuff?
No, well, I see it as an instructor at the Police Academy in Oregon. It's a whole couple generations back that you're teaching, and it is different. The job's different, and attitudes are different, and there's good and bad in all of it. And but I'm not out there seeing it firsthand like you did. That encourages me to hear you from a different generation go out with them and say, wow, they impressed me. That's all I need to hear. And I've heard it from others. They say, there's certain things that we generalize, and I'm glad you didn't participate in any TikTok dance videos or anything like that when you were out there.
Well, he may have.
We may have.
Nope.
But we make fun of that stuff. But as far as being a cop, and it's encouraging to hear your words, and I know that that's true. Yeah, the job is different. That generation doesn't know, a difference, so they don't see it. They go, "Wow, this just seems great." Good. Keep thinking. Keep positive.
Yep.
Because we know that it's not as great as it was in many ways, and it's made more dangerous in some ways. In many ways, as a matter of fact, there's a lot more risk in not only risk to bad guys, but risk to get sued and to get ridiculed. Mm-hmm. And they're dealing with it. They're still stepping up to the plate. Yep. So I always admire that. We didn't worry about that nearly as much as this generation does. And so the fact that they're still signing up, I admire that.
I agree.
And so I give them the benefit of the doubt and say, you know what, go get them, do your best. You have to be better than I was. Do we all agree with that?
Yeah.
They have to be better. The patrol, especially, they have to be better than we were. They have to be a little bit. They have to be smarter. They have to understand law more. They have to deal with a lot more nonsense than we did. We just went out and arrested people, hooked and booked, and ran around with their hair on fire. And did we make a difference? Do good things? Yeah, but it's just different now. And they're doing good things. But I'm glad you talked about that. That was very interesting perspective. And it was smart to do it.
Yeah.
It kind of goes back to your philosophy of going back when you made sergeant. You were really eager. You really wanted to know what is
probably
happening.
a weirdo.
No. I mean, it's unique. I mean, but I wouldn't call it weirdo. I think it's being smart because of the change. You saw things on your overtime details that are going to stay with you in how you manage here. Because let's face it, that generation's coming here, and they're going to be under you.
You're 100% correct.
So now you're learning about, I'm learning about this generation in patrol, and now I understand them a little bit more. I respect them more than I did maybe. And now they're coming and they're working for me. They just happen to be at Able now. Mm-hmm. I think that was really good.
Yeah.
Really good idea.
Well, going back to your career, talking about spending time at Central. For me, Central was my number one choice as well. I think it was Central, Mid-City, and Southeastern were my top three choices. The one I did not want to go to was Southern, and I got assigned at Southern. And the only reason I love Southern, but the only reason I didn't want to get assigned there is because it was the furthest drive. And Central was, I think, for all intents and purposes, the most fun to work, most fun division to work at because of the activity there. There's so much activity. It's a target-rich environment, as you'd say. But you've got a little bit of everything in Central. You've got gas lamp. You've got the Barrio Logan area. You've got a lot of opportunity to learn as a new police officer and be really active. And like you were involved in some really big investigations. Can you talk about how that time at Central, being busy, being a part of all these investigations, being proactive, all the things you did there helped you when you got to aviation?
Oh, man. So I agree with everything you just said. And I think what it comes down to is just the number of reps. So I think a brand new officer should always go somewhere busy just to it's just batting practice. You just go to a bunch of calls and figure out how to talk to people. And I think 2 years at one division is like the equivalent of 6 years at another division because of how busy they are. So I got very lucky with Central Division, and I feel like I got a little taste of everything so that when I came here as a TFO with 10 years of experience under my belt and in a few areas of law enforcement, TFO training was the hardest thing I've ever learned how to do. And I was able to draw on a lot of that experience and eke my way through the training process and figure it out on the backside. And I'm not sure I would have been as successful if I just didn't have the number of reps that I did. And so hopefully for anyone listening, if this is an interesting thing to you, go be somewhere where it's busy. If you can control it, I think that's a great thing to do.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. I mean, that's great advice because the reps is important. You get into the TFO position and nothing's going to fluster you. You've already been there, done that, because and multiple times.
Right.
Whereas somebody that's in a different part of the city may have never seen that, or they've done it here and there. Whereas you were doing it nightly.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be second nature as a TFO. Yeah. It's so valuable. That's why we would encourage, current recent patrol time before you apply. And if you were in certain divisions, we knew what we were getting. This is going to be somebody that, provided they just didn't sit in their car, and we know that they didn't in those divisions, they're going to have at least the base knowledge that we're looking for, and we can expand on that. But the reps. Yeah. We've heard that from multiple guests that the reps are key in a wide variety of areas, but that's one of them.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, I think the most common piece of advice that we give to people when they ask, how do I get to aviation, is to do the job that you're doing now well. Yeah. And
I totally agree.
I think that is primarily patrol. What's interesting is, most agencies are in such a severe staffing situation that patrol's short. All the specialty assignments are short, including aviation. So now I went to aviation at 9 years, I think that was a good time for me to go. And I recommend the more time you spend, the better. But most agencies now at 3 or 4 years, you're okay. What are you going to do? So you do have a lot of folks who are able to go to aviation at 3 or 4 years. So if you find yourself in that position, like we're talking about, make sure you're spending time in these busy assignments prior to going there. With San Diego, as beautiful as it is also having a recruitment issue, as is every other agency across the U.S. and the world. Can you talk about your agency? Give us a snapshot of how many personnel you have. I know the numbers change daily, but how many you're supposed to have versus what you're guessing that the numbers that are currently sworn are, and maybe some of the measures that your department's taken for recruitment.
Yeah, so we're supposed to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,000, maybe 2,036. Seems like a number that's stuck in my head. So I think it's probably closer in reality to like 1,700 and change right now. So probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 vacancies. And we have a big group that's going to drop out here in June, and maybe like 40 personnel in 1 week of each other. So we are feeling it for sure. And it just kind of bleeds its way into everything. Patrol is short-staffed. The specialty units are short-staffed. Everywhere is just trying to kind of make do with what they've got and do the best that they can. So we've got 9 patrol divisions. Obviously, that's our first responsibility is patrol. But our unit and SWAT and K9 are trying to pluck the superstars of patrol out of patrol and bring them into our world. And so, as a leader up here, I'm very excited about that. But I realize it hurts patrol too, right? So those guys are doing a great job in patrol where they are trying to help their squads be the best they can be. And then we snatch them out of there. So I think that it's really tough. We're going through, like the Padres, a rebuilding year. And so I think that my hope is, like the experience I had working the overtime assignments, is that there are some new officers out there that are really excited and just need the right guidance. A couple of cool things is that my class of sergeants that I just promoted with, there were 15 of us. And typically in the past couple years, I would say if you look at the promotional list for sergeant, the time on is, somewhere in the neighborhood of like 7, 8, 9, 10 years, something like that is about the norm. Well, for us, I don't know why my group all decided, like, we've been around long enough, it's time for us to finally pull the trigger on promotion. But we had an in-house sergeant school, and one of the instructors asked us to go around the room and just say how long we'd been on the department. And it was like 20 years, 24 years, 19 years, 18 years. One person said 11 years, and they were the baby in the group.
Wow.
So I like the idea that we just pushed out 14 sergeants, because I stayed here, into patrol that have a wealth of knowledge and a couple decades of experience. And I hope that my peer group of sergeants are out there really guiding these guys to how to be good cops. And that's why I say I'm excited about the future. I think we're on the right pathway, but we're still struggling with that staffing hole.
Is that unusual for your department, that tenure in a sergeant's class?
That is not reflective of the last few lists. Now, every so often you will see that, but this list felt like one of the most senior lists that we've seen in a long time.
That's great.
Yeah.
When you were going there, I went, I can't wait to hear these numbers. I'm stunned.
Yeah, it was cool.
That's really good, because that's, the more experience you have, the better you're going to be at that job.
There's a lot to draw from, which is great.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Last night at dinner, we were talking about recruitment of folks to aviation from, the ranks of patrol and field operations. You said something that was impactful to me. It's hard for us that have such a passion for aviation, for where we are, to feel like we should have to go out and sell what we're doing because this is the best job in the world. Can you talk about what you said and your thoughts on that?
Thank you to our sponsor, Shotover. Shotover Systems is the leading developer and manufacturer of high-performance gyro-stabilized cameras with advanced real-time AR mapping and mission management, all backed by unparalleled custom training and support. Now offering the M2 multi-sensor system, Sol 6-axis EOIR platform with 4K Ultra HD color and infrared technology. Ideal for law enforcement and defense. Offered with real-time AR overlays to quickly identify streets, weather, and traffic. Automated license plate recognition, 24 megapixel digital photographs, and automated steering and tracking.
Yeah, so I think how I worded it was that it kind of breaks my heart to try to talk somebody into trying out my dream job. I love this job so much. I can't believe I fell backwards into it. But that's the reality that we live. If I just decide like, well, I'm not going to talk anyone into this, we're not going to get the kind of talent that we're looking for. So we've made quite a bit of effort with some motivated people in our group here. We formed a recruitment committee to just talk about ideas like how do we best use our resources and our strategy and our time to go out and find these superstars. Like, honestly, all we really need is 2 good cops a year to come up here, and we're going to be set. That's all. The training process, that's all we can take. If the department said you guys have 4 vacancies, pick 4 people right now, we couldn't even take them. So every 6 months, 1 new person, and so we created a recruiting video. It's a little 2-minute snapshot. The main point of that was to make sure people understood you do not need to be a pilot to put in for TFO. And that was something that kept me away for a long time. Yeah. So I just didn't realize that. So we're trying to break through that barrier of somebody who just assumes like you must have already have to be a pilot to go there. So we're trying to break that down and really seek out these guys or gals that are finding all these really cool assignments, and they're checking all the right boxes of things that will probably benefit them if they chose to come up here. So we're trying to use personal relationships of people that know people in patrol, and hey, have you ever thought about this? So I also I teach what we call a TFO candidate class, where anytime we're about to do another process, we'll put it out department wide. It's a 3-hour class that kind of tells you our history, where we are now, what the selection process looks like, if you get picked up, what the training process looks like, how do you make pilot from there, just to set expectations. And I think some people leave that class going, whoa, that's not what I pictured at all. Yeah. Our hope is that a handful of people are like, man, this sounds cool. And I'm even okay if that person is like, I'm going to go check a few more boxes over the next couple of years, but this is on my radar now, and I'm going to really work towards that. And we may not see the fruit of that labor for a couple of years, but I think it'll be worth it in the end that we're planting these seeds now.
It will be.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy that, the idea that, like you said, you should have to go sell my dreams because it's so foreign. And I was like you. I remember Abel coming to land at the police academy, and I thought it was amazing. I was like, that is so cool. But I immediately was like, I can't. I don't have the talent or the background to get into a program like that. How do you do that? So it wasn't until a friend of mine called and said, hey, what would you think about coming to aviation? I was like, that's possible. So I love that you guys are putting the effort forward to plant the seeds, like you said, to show folks, hey, this is a possibility. You don't have to be a pilot. In fact, it's probably encouraged that you're not. We talked about that quite a bit too. A lot of agencies like to bring folks in with very little experience, so you can kind of form the pilot to your mission set that you want. Can you talk about that from your perspective? What you guys are doing with your TFOs, how you fill the pilot seats and they do become vacant.
Yeah, and so there's definitely a couple of schools of thought on this, and I might have to put myself in the category of the guy that's trying to hang on to something that I like, but I'm trying to be open-minded to what the next generation is willing to do. So before I came up here, anyone interested in being a pilot here on their own time and their own dime had to have a commercial rating with an instrument rating. And it could be in airplanes or helicopters, but it was almost always in airplanes. And that was it. And there was a list of people that were knocking down the door back then. And then over time, it got a little more challenging to get somebody who actually went out and got their commercial. So they're like, all right, let's walk it back to, we'll make it a private pilot's license with 30 hours of PIC. And that's what it was when I came through. So that's what I did. And now fast forward, it's an expensive place to live. I don't know if our pay is really kept up. and aviation costs are very expensive. And so we walked it back now. Just this year, it's just a private pilot's license. And we negotiated with our union to up the tuition reimbursement. So the way the language reads is if you are assigned as a TFO in the air sport unit and you're working on your private pilot's license for the purpose of eligibility, you can reimburse up to $15,000.
Wow, that's cool.
So I recognize the financial burden hurts, but there is a huge part of me that likes to see people do that on their own time. And that's where I think that's going to be the separation for my generation and the next, because my feeling is that a lot of people feel like if this city wants me to do something, it should be on their time, not my own time. And I'm wrestling with what the right call is. But what I really like about it is that demonstration of a passion for aviation, because I think it takes a lot of effort to go through that first rating, and people realize really quickly, is this for me? Like, being a TFO is exciting and cool. When you are in control of the aircraft, there is a responsibility and a comfort level that needs to come with that. And I have heard stories of places where somebody was a TFO for a while and the department paid for them to get all of their ratings, and they came back and they're like, I do not like this like I thought I would. So I am okay with our current system of we're going to try to get you as much reimbursement as possible, but we really want to see you get this first rating on your own, and then we'll take it from there. And so from there, when they're selected, we'll send them to a flight school to get their helicopter private add-on and commercial, and then they'll come back and fly with in-house CFIs in our H-125s.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a different environment, because I think for a long time most agencies did require you had some form of a private or something. And now with the recruitment issues, everyone's, changing the way they look at things. So it's nice that you've found a way to kind of still stay in both camps. The tuition reimbursement's great. I actually haven't heard of that before, and I thought that was really nice that your POA has negotiated that as part of the deal. When I went in, you didn't have to have anything. I do like the requirement for a private. I think it shows your aptitude to be able to pass, a written and a check ride.
Mm-hmm.
But having said that, I've myself and all the folks that I work with behind me have been able to accomplish everything without having had anything. So I see both. I see value in both. Talk about cost of living in California, especially in San Diego. It's a challenge, right? Just to be able to afford the basics. So then to add on the cost of flight school, it's really prohibitive. Jack, I know you guys, was it a private it was required for you guys?
Yeah, it's changed, and I don't even know what it is at this moment. I can't think of it, but it was a private minimum private fixed wing with 100 hours PIC, and you could apply for pilot. And then I had 103 hours
nice.
when I took my oral interview, and then they would train you. It was in-house training for the whole thing. It's a constant. Kevin Geller was just on, and he talked about it as our training school downstairs, because it is. It's a 365 day a year training school that's downstairs. It's constant. There's constantly pilots in there, including fire department. The fire pilots come there for their initial training as well. So it's kind of unique, and because it's so large and they can get away with that. But I understand, how you have to adjust those requirements just to get the bodies, but it has to be a balance, because you still want that passion.
Absolutely.
You still want that passion where they really want to learn, because it's serious stuff. This is not, high risk stuff if you don't have the right mindset and skills and training and everything that comes with it. So with that in mind, you don't want to lower the standards too much or change them. Don't say lower isn't the right word for what we're talking about, but changing them, you want that experience. Now, our supervisors could come in with nothing. So as a primary instructor in CFI, I will tell you that I admire anybody that can learn with nothing in a helicopter, because it's much harder than the people that have a fixed wing even with 30 hours.
Yeah.
You know how to communicate. You know what a tower says. You know what an ATIS is. This is one that hit me early on, telling a brand new supervisor that I'm training how to fly. Well, go up to the mixer panel and flip the radio 2 up. He goes, "What's a mixer panel?" And I went, "Oh my gosh, That's right. He wasn't a TFO. He never was in a Cessna or something. He doesn't understand that. That was a wake-up call for me that, wow, this is going to be different than these other students I've had. Yeah. So there's certainly benefits, and we would all agree that there's certainly benefits to having that base of knowledge and some of those writtens out of the way and understanding things. But can it be done? Yes, it can, John, right? Yeah. It can be done. You can come in with nothing, get in that helicopter, and become a private and then a commercial pilot. But it takes hard work and passion and a commitment.
Yeah, I think back to being a TFO. You're almost through osmosis learning the roles and responsibilities of the pilot. So you go into that next step understanding what's required of you as a student and as a professional pilot later on. So for us, it wasn't like walking in the front door and be like, okay, here, go learn how to fly this thing. Yeah. We had already learned the TFO seat and have seen the responsibilities of the pilot. So, to open up a position of a pilot position, I think you have to at least have been a TFO for law enforcement aviation, at least, before being selected there. I think it'd be wild to come out of patrol and then all of a sudden you're a pilot, with no knowledge.
Think about the sight pictures that as you said osmosis, John. That's exactly right. As a TFO, you may just be sitting there. You're not at the controls, but you see that approach hundreds and hundreds of times. And now you're being told, okay, now this is a normal approach. You go, well, I've seen that before. You've already got the rate of closure, the rate of descent in your head without even knowing you do. Big benefit. And then the biggest one, orbits.
Yeah.
I mean, we brought pilots in that had never been a TFO, and some of them were military pilots. Struggle with orbits because they never seen it before. They didn't do that. They didn't do that before. It wasn't in their mission set, whereas it's in our mission set from the moment you leave, and sometimes you're up for 2.5 hours and that's all you did was left-hand orbits, over a tactical situation. So I agree that the TFO knowledge and experience benefits you in many ways that you don't even know until you're in the pilot seat and going, oh, I've seen this before.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about the TFO spot being the hardest spot in the department. Yeah. Definitely the hardest spot in the cockpit. So I feel like if you can demonstrate your proficiency as a good TFO, the odds of you being a successful pilot, student, candidate, and professional pilot later are pretty high. Yeah. It's just a hard job, I will say, sliding over from the TFO seat to the pilot seat, I remember talking to the tower and making position reports in uncontrolled airspace was interesting. I feel like as soon as I keyed the mic, I forgot how to speak English.
Oh yeah.
I saw that so many times with students.
Yep.
And it was people mainly, not all. There were people that were TFOs before, but it was mainly people that were learning to fly and had nothing. And now you had to remember that, and every word out of their mouth you had to listen to and pay attention to. You couldn't take anything for granted.
Right.
Every brain cell is being dedicated to just trying to coordinate your hands and feet. Yep. And now you're trying to talk on top of it too. That's
I have to tell this. I had a student. He's a wonderful guy, and he passed, and he ended up being he was a sergeant. And we were going to Santa Barbara on a kind of just cross country intro. And I told him, hey, you're going to check in with Santa Barbara approach now, and I'll tell you where it is, how many miles out and all that. And he says, I got it, Jack. And he keys the mic, says, Santa Monica approach, police 2-1. Nothing. Santa Monica approach, police 2-1. Nothing. I said, hey, we're going to Santa Barbara. And then he says it one more. He says, oh, roger that. Santa Monica approach. Santa Barbara comes on and says, this is Santa Barbara approach. I grew up in Santa Monica. It's a fine place, but you're coming to Santa Barbara, right? And it was so funny. To this day, when I talk to him, I say, hey, Santa Monica approach. How's it going?
That's so funny.
But it wasn't, he was being exposed to something that was completely foreign to him. And it's a lot. It's a lot. I remember being in the airplane and the communication I was fumbling and stumbling on that. I remember that my instructor saying, so you're a tactical flight officer, huh? You talk out of an aircraft. I mean, that's how bad it was. He was stunned that I was doing so poorly at it. And I was like, I'm nervous. I'm flying. I'm talking. I've never done that before.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be said for having that experience.
What's funny is, fast forward to you're now a mission qualified pilot. You're working a dynamic incident with your TFO. You're helping out in the radios. You reach over. You put yourself out on their primary channel so you can help out with some of the comms. And then you forget to switch back. to the aviation channel and you put out a position report or you try and get clearance on your primary dispatch channel and all the comments that come in afterwards. How many times has that happened to you?
Oh yeah.
Never,
It's funny.
Matt. That's never happened. Never happened to me either. I don't know about you. I don't know what's going on with John, but Matt and I've never done that. Oh my gosh.
It's so good.
The harassment was incredible.
As it should be, right?
Yes.
But every time that happened, like, gosh, dang it, you know? Well, coming back to your agency, Able it's kind of middle of the city, great location. Can you talk about the agents or the unit as a whole? What your mission profile is, how many folks are assigned out here, and kind of what that looks like?
Absolutely. So we're based out of Montgomery Airport on the west side, and it is centrally located in the city, which works out really well for us. We have 4 helicopters. So we're in a replacement program right now where we've gotten 3 new H-125s in the last couple of years, and our 4th one is coming by the end of the year.
Nice.
So, which is great because those will be the last aircraft I ever fly. That'll take care of us for the rest of my career. What's really fantastic about that is, to me, it just demonstrates the city and our department's commitment that you guys are doing something that we really need you to keep doing, and we're going to spend a bunch of money to make sure you guys have what you need. So to me, again, that's the future is bright mantra, is that they care enough to do that because they didn't have to do that. So 4 helicopters. I think for most people outside of aviation, they're always surprised that it takes 4 helicopters to always have one ready to go. But there is quite a bit of maintenance that goes on. So we have 3 of the best helicopter mechanics that I've ever met in my life that work here. They belong to a company called RSI out of Fillmore, California. But our lead mechanic has been a part of this unit for 30 years.
Oh, my.
He has seen everybody come and go. He's the guy to go talk to if you want the dirt on what's going on around here. So it's amazing. And he's brought on 2 guys that are doing such a great job. And to me, it always warms my heart at this place. And I use this as a recruiting tactic for officers, is that our civilian mechanics are treated as much as family as any sworn officer I've ever met. I know sometimes in law enforcement, the civilian staff just has a little asterisk on how they're treated, but not here. These guys are our family, and that's fantastic. So we are supposed to have 2 sergeants and 12 officers. At the moment, we have 3 sergeants for the next couple months and 8 officers. So we're about 4 in the hole right now. We are doing a new TFO selection process right now. We do 1-year lists, and we try to pick up 2 names off that list. So that's where we're at. We do routine flights every day. So our day crew will fly about 3 hours in the day, and the night crew about 5 hours at night. We have a very narrow mission, which ironically has actually worked out really well for us. We support patrol and investigators, and that's about it. So every so often we'll land on the side of a mountain and pick up a lost hiker, but it's pretty rare, maybe once a year. So we don't do the hoist rescues. We don't do the firefighting. And I won't get into the reasons why. There's definitely a backstory to it. But I'm a little bit bummed because I think those missions sound like a lot of fun to learn. I've never done anything like that. However, to weather this storm of staffing issues, I believe why we're so successful and why we're keeping the train on the tracks is because we have this very narrow mission that we're very, very good at. We don't get pulled a bunch of different directions. So I kind of think of our unit as sort of the in and out of the fast food world. Is we have a very simple menu, and we stick to what we're good at, and we try to make it the best we possibly can every day. We don't have to add all these other different specialty things. And so it's served us really well. You know, I know Astria, just to the east of us, they staff their fire helicopters with CAL FIRE. They do hoist rescue, and they're dealing with the same staffing issues that everybody is. It gets harder to staff that patrol ship when you have those obligations in the other world. And so I think we're very lucky that that's our mission, and we get to just keep practicing it every day.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious. You called it the in and out of the world.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
I've never thought about it like that, but it's true. I think all 3 of us come from agencies where patrol is our primary mission, and it's hard enough when you're a full-time TFO dedicated to just that one mission to be good and proficient at that. So I'm always really impressed by the multi-mission folks and how well they're doing all this other stuff because it's a lot. You know, the one mission by itself is a lot.
Yeah. As long as they are dedicating the training to it, and they do. Many do. But yeah, it's We were from the same thing. Just that's the lane we're in. Fire department does the rest.
Yep.
You know, there's Rescue 5 from the county can do that. We don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
And you guys are very good.
Thank you.
At catching bad guys. And that's your mission. Hey, we can do that.
Yep.
And in some ways, if they came to you and wanted to add other things, you know, there'd probably be some, as exciting and as fun as it is, because I'd love to try some of those things too. Mm-hmm. It's just spreads you much thinner, and now you kind of lose your sight of the goal. What's the main goal? Why do we exist? We're here to support patrol and support the citizens and catch bad guys. All right, we're real good at that. Let's keep being good at that. And it's hard because of all the things we've been talking about with recruitment and budgets and all that stuff. And spreading yourself even thinner, as cool as it might be, you could hurt yourself.
Yeah.
You could hurt yourself. I've seen a couple units do that where they go, we got to do more. And I understand why they do it. They want to justify their existence. So when they say, well, could you add a Bambi bucket to that? Yeah, we can do it. Could you do this? Yeah, we can do that. Sometimes they can get away with it because they get the money support behind it with equipment and training. They can do it. But some don't get that equipment and training as much as they should. And now you're rolling the dice again.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
So there's a balance there, but I love the in and out analogy.
Yeah.
We talked about the 4 aircraft you guys have that are supporting operations. I wholeheartedly agree. We had 3, and everyone's like, "Why do you need 3 to fly 1?" What's the saying? If you have 1 helicopter, you have none. If you have 2, you have 1.
Yep.
So the more you have, obviously, the easier it becomes to support the patrol operations. Can you talk about the aircraft you guys have selected for that patrol mission?
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Hangar Z podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more stories that promote the personnel and equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation. Lastly, stand by for a message after a word from our sponsors. Cheers.
Thank you to our sponsor, Shotover. Shotover Systems is the leading developer and manufacturer of high-performance gyro-stabilized cameras with advanced real-time AR mapping and mission management, all backed by unparalleled custom training and support. Now offering the M2 multi-sensor system, sole 6-axis EO/IR platform with 4K Ultra HD color and infrared technology. Ideal for law enforcement and defense. Offered with real-time AR overlays to quickly identify streets, weather, and traffic. Automated license plate recognition, 24-megapixel digital photographs, and automated steering and tracking. Thank you to our sponsor, CNC Technologies. CNC Technologies, serving law enforcement, government, and military markets with tailored mission solutions, system training, and live 24/7 support with CNC.live platform. Explore more at cnctechnologies.com. Thanks to our sponsor, Airbus. Airbus provides the most efficient helicopter solutions to its customers who serve, protect, save lives, and safely carry passengers in demanding environments. Its civil and military helicopters are flying all over the world, making missions possible. Visit airbus.com for more information.
Thank you for tuning into the special 2-part series of the Hangar Z podcast, recorded on location in San Diego at the San Diego Police Department Air Support Unit hangar as part of the 2025 Blades of Valor Tour. We're grateful to have had the opportunity to highlight the exceptional work and to speak with Sergeant Matt Zdunich, whose family has a long-standing tradition of dedicated service to the San Diego community. With nearly 24 years of service, Matt's leadership exemplifies the importance of solid leadership, a strong unit culture, and embracing emerging technologies to stay ahead. I'd again like to thank Airbus and Massif flight suits for making this year's tour possible. For more insights and behind-the-scenes footage from our visit, be sure to read Jack Shanley's article in Vertical Valor magazine and check out the incredible video content captured by Lloyd Horgan and Brent Bundy on the Vertical Magazine YouTube channel. Thanks again for listening. Stay safe. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Hangar Z podcast. Cheers.